Welcome, beloved. If no one tells you today, you are loved. You are loved. You are appreciated. You are the apple of God's eye. And it's time you knew that. And it's time you conducted yourself according to that truth. It's time you align your vibrational offering to the universe with the truth that I'm loved. I'm adored by this great universe of life. Everything works out perfectly for me. All is well. All is well. I am love. I am the love that I've always been seeking. So I stopped seeking because I am that which I'm seeking. That's you. I love you. Welcome to the reading of the Bible. We're reading the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation and more, because Genesis to Revelation is not the entire Bible. And we are doing it each day at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. So show up here every day at 7 a.m. Eastern Time to the Valerie Love YouTube channel, the Christian Witches YouTube channel, the Christian Witches Facebook fan page. Today, Genesis chapter 14, chapters 14 and 15. Let's go. I am Reverend Valerie Love. If you are brand new here, if you one of the OG Love Tubers, shout out, baby. Shout out. If you are brand new here, I'm Reverend Valerie Love, also known as Kaisi. I am the author of 26 books on practical spirituality, including the book that this series is about. The Real God is Not in the Bible. How religion and superstition blinded humanity to the truth for thousands of years. That is the name of the book. It is on Amazon and Kickstarter. Let's go. In the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goam, they made war with Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemeber, 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 king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar. Now, I want you to carefully hone in on the war that is happening with regard to Sodom, Gomorrah, 5 kingdoms, basically, you could say. What are the 5 kingdoms? The king Bera, the king of Sodom, Bersha, the king of Gomorrah, Shinab, the king of Admah, Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar. There are 5 kings that are the subject of a war. Please keep this in mind. I'll tell you why it's important in a moment. All these join together in the Valley of Siddim, also called the Salt Sea. They served, remember that Salt Sea, keep it, it's a clue. Salt Sea, it's a clue. They served Chedorlaomer for 12 years. And in the 13th year, they rebelled. Okay, these 5 kings served Chedorlaomer for 12 years, but in the 13th year, there was a rebellion. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him came and struck the Rephaim in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shaveh Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir to El Paran, which is by the wilderness. Notice the "im" at the end of each of those words: Rephaim, Zuzim, Emim, Kiriathaim, Deim. Jewish people, I apologize right now if I'm butchering these words. I do apologize right now if I'm butchering your words. Because I was never meant to read these words, but here we are because people think these words came from God. And the Horites. So notice that the im at the end in the Hebrew language does represent a collective. It is not singular, it is a collective. Just like the Elohim, just like the Malachim, just like the cherubim. These are not angels, these are beings. They returned and came to En Mishpat, also called Kadesh, and struck all the army of the Amalekites and also the Amorites that lived in Hazazon Tamar. The king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, also called Zoar, went out and they set the battle in array against them in the valley of Siddim, all against Cheddar Laomar, king of Elam, or Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against the 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, and some fell there. Those who remained fled to the hills. They took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food and went their way. They took Lot, Abram's brother's son, Abram's nephew, who lived in Sodom, and his goods and departed. So they were carrying off war booty because the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled. One who had escaped came and told Abram the Hebrew. At that time, he lived by the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner. They were allies of Abram. When Abram heard that his relative was taken captive, he led out his 318 trained men born in his house and pursued as far as Dan. He divided himself against them by night, he and his servants, and struck them and pursued them to Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. He brought back all the goods and also brought back his relative Lot and his goods, and the women also, and the other people. The king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Cheddar Laomar and the kings who were with him at the valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High. God Most High is El Elyon. A different person, whenever you see Most High, that is El Elyon translated, which is different from Elohim, which is different from Yahweh. These are all different beings, not the same. He blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abraham of God Most High." Blessed be Abram, not Abraham. Let me correct myself. Blessed be Abram of God Most High. Abram of El Elyon, possessor of heaven and earth. Blessed be God Most High. Blessed be El Elyon, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. Abram gave him a tenth of all. Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of all that he had retrieved from the war bounty that was taken. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and take the goods for yourself." Abram said to the king of Sodom, "I have lifted up my hand to Yahweh, God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread, nor a sandal strap, nor anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. I will accept nothing from you except that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me. Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their portion. Genesis chapter 15. After these things, Yahweh's word came to Abram in a vision, saying, Don't be afraid, Abram. I'm your shield, your exceedingly great reward. Abram said, Lord Yahweh, what will you give me since I go childless? And he who will inherit my estate is Eleazar of Damascus. Abram said, Behold, you have given no children to me, and behold, one born in my house is my heir. Behold, Yahweh's word came to him, saying, This man will not be your heir, but he who will come out of your own body will be your heir. Yahweh brought him outside and said, Look now toward the sky and count the stars if you are able to count them. He said to Abram, So your offspring will be. He believed in Yahweh who credited it to him for righteousness. He said to Abram, I am Yahweh who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldees to give you this land to inherit it. He said, Lord Yahweh, how will I know that I will inherit it? He said to him, Bring me a heifer 3 years old, a female goat 3 years old, a ram 3 years old, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. He bought him all these and divided them in the middle and laid each half opposite the other, but he didn't divide the birds. The birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Abram drove them away. When the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell on Abram. Now terror and great darkness fell on him. He said to Abram, Know for sure that your offspring will live as foreigners in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them. They will afflict them 400 years. I will also judge that nation whom they will serve. Afterward, they will come out with great wealth, but you will go to your fathers in peace. You will be buried at a good old age. In the fourth generation, they will come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full. It came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a flaming torch passed between these pieces. In that day, Yahweh made a covenant with Abram, saying, I have given this land to your offspring, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Footnote. The word translated Lord is Adonai. If you came here for the reading of the Bible, there you have it. Now let's get into the commentary. God morning, God morning, God morning, Grand Rising family. Come on in. Welcome, love tubers. I love you. I love you. I love you. Let's get into the commentary. Oh my goodness. There is so much to say right here, right here, right here. First of all, I want you to understand something. Sodom and Gomorrah were not destroyed. We got this setup of Sodom and Gomorrah. The first thing that we want to understand is that we got the setup of why Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. Sodom and Gomorrah were not destroyed because of homosexuality. Get that lie out of your mind. It's an absolute control mechanism by those who would perpetrate crimes against humanity by trying to control your sexuality. It has nothing to do with being gay. Please, people, I've been saying this for years. Baby, if you just read the Bible, you'll see Sodom and Gomorrah has nothing to do with being gay. Nothing whatsoever. It doesn't say it anywhere in the Bible. I can't tell you where it came from. It came from the church fathers, as they got to discussing these things. Why was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? We don't have to guess why Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. It told you in the Bible why they were destroyed. It was a war. Four kings against five kings. They were in the valley near the Salt Sea. These four kings came against these four kings. These five kings used to serve this king for 12 years. Then these five kings revolted, and this king was mad. And so they went to war. And when they were in the war in the valley, it was full of tar pits. And the kings, specifically, two kings retreated. The kings of Sodom and Gomorrah retreated from the war. It says it. But we didn't think we had to fact check the pastor. We did not think we had to fact check church. Baby, fact check church. Fact check the pastor. Okay, pastor, can I ask a question? Where in the Bible does it say that Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed because of homosexuality? Please show me the line and the verse because I've never seen it in the Bible. I went looking for it because is that proof that God cares about your sexuality? I'm going to tell you something shocking. I'm a minister of the living God. I've been a minister all my life, pretty much at 3, 4 years old when my mother joined the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was probably about 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. I was young. They gave me my first Bible. And I promise you, when they gave me my first Bible, I did not know what this book was. I was looking at this book like, what in the world? What am I supposed to do with this book? You're supposed to read it and never let your Bible be on the floor and never let your Bible be raggedy, and don't tear your Bible, and take good care of your Bible because this is God's word and this is God's word coming to you. And I was like, who's God? He's up in the sky. See, already they're setting it up that the power is outside of you. The power is in the sky, daddy. And if you want something, well, how do I get in touch with this God? If you want, you got to pray and you got to ask the sky daddy to please, sky daddy, can get where's God? Up there, not in here. That's what they taught me. I don't know what they taught you. That's what they taught me. Where's God? Up there. Never saw him. I remember being a little girl. I was walking around in New York City. Every so often, I would look up at the clouds just to see. He's sitting on a throne. Has anyone seen this throne? No, you didn't see the throne. Why not? Because if you look at God's face, you die. These people had an answer for everything. However, the story was incoherent. It didn't add up. I had many questions that went unanswered. And therefore, as they say in the magical arts and sciences, if you have many questions that you have in church and they're not answered in church, you will soon find yourself in a mystery school. Hello, where they do have the answers. That's what this is. This is a global mystery school. Even though I do have a mystery school also, this is a global mystery school that we're talking here because we're talking about mysteries that are hidden in plain sight. We're talking about mysteries that are hidden in plain sight. If you want to make sure that people won't see it, put it in a book. Because people are not going to read this big whole giant book that they're toting around everywhere, that they're telling you the Bible said. Christians can tell me nothing about the Bible. Don't do that because the Bible said it's no magic. Oh, shut the fuck up. There's magic all throughout the Bible. But you wouldn't know because you don't read it. Oh, yeah, yeah. You read the part that the pastor says, turn to 1 Corinthians 13. God, oh, love, 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 love. Yeah, yeah, you know that part. And turn to Psalm and turn to this. You're turn to Bible readers. That's what people are in church. They're a turn to so and so. They turn to that. Yeah. Oh yes, Pastor. Mm-hmm. Start speaking in tongues. And it's beautiful that people speak in tongues. I love that people speak in tongues. I love that the energy moves you. And what I do not love is that they did not tell you that the energy can move you when you're in nature. The energy can move you while you're at the beach. The energy can move you while you're in the forest. The energy can move you anywhere because you are the energy. You are God and God is you. But they tried to co-opt God and make it be that you're having this experience because you're in church. Don't get me to preaching today. Let's get back to these kings of Sodom and Gomorrah. So we got the entire Genesis chapter 14 gives you the entire setup of Sodom and Gomorrah. And if we read it, we would see that it was political, it was a rebellion, it was a war, and it had nothing to do with whether people are gay or straight. Why does God care who you sleep with? Can I get somebody to answer that question? Why does the infinite source of the entire cosmos, all of it, I mean, billions of stars, trillions of solar systems, I mean, we can't even count it all, of this entire cosmos that's birthing babies right now, and lions and chickens are hatching out of the all of this going on. But God cares what you do with your penis or your vagina tonight. I always found that to be strange. Why are these people trying to control sexuality? What is going on with these people? What is it in church that makes one of their favorite things to hate? Gay people and, of course, witches. Of course, witches. Why is this one of their pet peeves? Why the homosexuality and the liars and the murderers and the drunkards will not inherit the kingdom of God? Clean up your act. And then it leads to all of these perverse, quote unquote, therapies. We're going to ungay you. We're going to unlesbian you. Shut the fuck up. Stop it. I don't give a fuck about who people sleep with. Baby, have a whole a harem, have a reverse harem, have an orgy tonight. Baby, enjoy yourself. Long as everybody is of age. We ain't doing no Jeffrey Epstein around. We don't have no island with kids on it, okay? We're not doing that. As long as everybody is grown, you get to make your own choices. You're grown. Everybody's grown. Everybody's consenting. No one's being forced. No one's being drugged. P. Diddy. Ain't nobody being in some freak off for 3 days because we shot you up with a bunch of drugs and you can't sleep. P. Diddy. We're not talking about it. I need to make these things very clear because people try to take your words out of context, and I will refuse to let that happen because Reverend Val is over clear in her speech. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm not talking about the aberrations you see around the world. I'm not talking about child trafficking. I'm talking about grown adults who make choices. That's what you're here for. You're a grown adult. You are responsible for yourself, and you get to make choices. You get to choose who you sleep with, and you get to choose who you will not sleep with. You get to choose if you're going to be celibate. You get to choose if you're not going to be celibate. You get to choose. And why would a loving God give you the ability to choose and then judge your choices? Doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. So we should stop believing ridiculous things. We should just stop believing ridiculous things. That's all. That's what I did. I just said, "Oh, well, that's ridiculous. I'm not gonna go with that. I'm gonna do something else." I sat down in meditation so I could get this straight within myself because as a minister speaking to people, I wanted to be clear within myself so that I could support other people in making their choices. And I grew up in an extremely judgmental background. Everything was wrong. It's a judgment if you lie. It's a judgment if you steal. It's a judgment if you sleep with someone. It's a judgment if you even have a desire in your heart to sleep with someone you're not married to. And I am not saying that it's okay to lie or it's okay to steal. I'm not saying any of that. The issue is the judgment, not the action. Be clear. You tell a lie because you're trying to get out of something. You're trying to. Then what really gets you is the guilt afterwards. Don't be guilty. Just go straighten up your lie. Just say, you know what? My bad. I was pressured. Let me come clean and tell you what really happened. This just happened in our family a little bit ago. Someone had a big. There was something going on in our family, and the person lied about it. And then they turned back around and said, you know what? That's not what really happened. Here's what really happened. And it was so beautiful that we got the truth. And it was beautiful that our family and the relationship was such that the person felt that they could come clean and tell the truth without the judgment. The judgment is the problem, not the initial act. We're all going to make A lot of mistakes. We're going to lie. We're going to pick up some pens at the office that we know don't belong to us and they found their way in your purse. Oh, how did that get there? Okay, baby, that's stealing. Put it back. We're going to watch some bootleg movies that we did not pay for. Okay, that's stealing. We're going to, your kid is going to walk out the store. You're in the car and you turn around 5 blocks from the car, rush into your next place, and your kid got the candy open and eating it. Where you get that candy from? Oh, the kid don't know it's stealing. They picked up a piece of candy and oh my God, you stole some candy out of the store. See, that's a judgment on the child. The child is like, I saw some candy. I picked it up. I unwrapped it and started eating it. They in the back of the car, but you won't turn your car back around, go all the way back and pay the money for that. It happens. Grace, grace. It happens. You are going to make a whole lot of mistakes. So am I. You're going to do a whole lot of things out of pocket. So am I. We do less things out of pocket, the more wise we become. We get to the point where we stop playing those games. We stop telling lies. We stop stealing. We stop taking things. I don't want nothing that don't belong to me. I'm like Abram. No, no, no. Don't give me nothing because later on you're going to come back and say you made me rich. Abram said, you didn't make me rich. So no, because they were like, hey, take all this, take the spoils, take this. Abram was like, no, no, no. You can give it to my dudes. I'm not taking it. Abram. He wasn't even Abraham yet. I keep calling him Abraham. He was not Abraham yet. Let me be accurate. He was still Abram. He did not yet have his name changed. Okay. Abram said, no, you're not giving me, I'm not taking that. Because then later you're going to say, yeah, I gave Abraham, yeah, Abram, all that stuff. Yeah, that's why he's thriving. You'll never be able to say that because I didn't take your shit. This is an excellent question. Sis, do you really believe in the Bible? Hell no. Let me put it in the chat so I can be clear. Hell to the nah. That's me. Thank you for asking, and thank you for being here. That is the answer to the question. I would tell you something right now. When you come into Reverend Valerie's corner of YouTube, baby, it's wild over here. I promise you. Okay, now let's go further with these kings of Sodom and Gomorrah. You ready for yourself? You read the setup of God, Sodom and Gomorrah and why these cities will be nuked later, and they were nuked by the Anunnaki. And that when we get to the part coming up where Sodom and Gomorrah is destroyed, I'm going to show you exactly how this relates to the Anunnaki wars that happened, literal Star Wars. And I'm also going to show you the archaeological proof that we have of nuclear weaponry used on this planet a very long time ago, surely before we developed nuclear weaponry. And I'm also going to show you the church fathers who invented the lie that Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed for homosexuality. I'll show you all of that. All right? Absolutely. I don't either. I love it. I love it. I love the truth. That is me. That is Reverend Valerie Love. I can't be nothing with you than honest. I gotta be honest with you. I gotta tell you what's really going on with me. And people like it, or maybe they don't like it. David said, great. Oh, I love that, Dave. Or let me make sure. Dave, yes, Dave. So it's very important for us to understand what the Bible is. Hold on, let me bring you one of my Bibles. Hold on. It is very important from my Bible collection. It is very important for us to understand what this book is. This book is not from God. The series, listen to the series and the podcast. The real God is not in the Bible. You will not find the real God anywhere in this Bible. It's not in a book. The real God doesn't have a holy house. The real God doesn't have rules for you to follow. The real God is not in the Bible. The real God is in the mirror. And we must be very clear and come out from the cobwebs that have been intentionally planted in our brains so that we can be free in spirit, in mind, and body, and come into the blissful peace that is ours by divine birthright. Oh, there's an infinite source. For sure. I'm not an atheist. I'm not an evolutionist. I don't think we came from apes. No, the reason we have that DNA is perfectly explained by the mashup of the Anunnaki and the primates that were here on the planet. That perfectly explains why we have high genetic comparability or uh, correspondence to the apes, primates, because they used that primate to merge, to breed, to bioengineer us and breed us. That's why. That's why we seem like apes. We didn't evolve from apes over millions of years. It's a ridiculous story. And I want to bring you a word: evolutionary theory. Evolution is a theory. It has never been proven. No one has ever been able to prove that first there was a one-celled amoeba in the water, and then it doubled, and then it kind of turned into a tadpole, and then it got a tail, and so it wiggled out of the water, and it came onto the dry land, and it turned into something else, and then it kept morphing, and over millions and millions of years, it turned into a little monkey, and then a bigger monkey, and then a bigger monkey, and then an ape, and then there is zero proof that that ever happened. The scientists will spout it like it is absolute fact. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. Boom. The real God is in the mirror. That's the bottom line of my whole jam. Ye are gods. It says it right here in the book that people just love. That I love this book too for very, very different reasons, because this book got me to understand the Anunnaki. Do you know that the Bible was the one that showed me the Anunnaki? Because when people would say the Anunnaki, it was the same conspiracy theories, because I'm a very skeptical person. Not anymore after I did my research and went down the deep dive holes, the rabbit holes. So now that I have fully fleshed out to you, we have the setup of Sodom and Gomorrah. So come back tomorrow because we're going to continue with the Sodom and Gomorrah story. You have this setup of Sodom and Gomorrah. There's one more thing that I want you to pay close attention to. There are many Bible scholars who say that Abraham or Abram was a warlord. He wasn't like this old patriarch that you see. I'm old and I don't have children yet. It could not have been that he was old and didn't have children yet, because you just read a couple of chapters before that they lived to be 930 years, 969 years. And then you read in the chapters following the flood that this one lived for 200 and some odd years, and he had more children, more sons and daughters. And this one lived for 300 years. Abraham being 99 years or 100 years, and Sarah being 90 or 99, they were young. They were old according to our standards. They weren't old according to Anunnaki standards. They were old by our standards. They weren't old by the standards of the Bible. These people were living to be 900 and some odd years old, 300 and some odd. It said Enoch lived on the earth for 300 and some odd years, and then God took him at 300. So you only 100, Abraham. You were a young spring chicken. According to what we're reading, you're reading the Bible for yourself. Did we not just read this woman? Let's look at it. Let's look at it. So, Abram, you only 100. You ain't got nothing to complain about, because these people. let's go. Let's go to the. I'm not talking about years before. I'm talking about just a couple of chapters before. First, we already know in the beginning chapters of the Bible, they were living for 900 and some odd years. Then after the flood, there's this explanation too for why after the flood they had shorter lifespans. 500 years. He lived 500 years. Okay, this one lived 403 years. At 35, he became this father, but then he lived another 400 years. This one, 403 years. This one, 430 years. This one, 209 years. This one, 207 years. 200 years. So what are we saying here, Abram? You ain't old. They made us think that Abram was old. He was not old according to what was going on in the context. According to the context, he's a young spring chicken. Further, I want you to note what happened with Abram. Abram said to Yahweh, tell me if this sounds like he's talking to another person standing right next to him. How does this read? Does this read like he's talking to another person right next to him, having a conversation back and forth? Or does this read some booming voice of God from the heavens? We're not up to 16 yet. Let's go back to 14, 15. Here they're talking. Yahweh's word came to Abram in a vision. Now let's talk about that. And then they're talking. And then later, Yahweh's word came to him. Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's strategy. It doesn't read like you're having some holy conversation with God. It reads like you're just having a conversation with another person. Abraham and Sarah were preteens. Yet, when we say turn to, the turn to Christians just turn to that part of the Bible, and it says Abraham was 100 years old. Wow, and Sarah was 90. Wow, they were old. That's what we're thinking today, sitting in church, because we just turned to that part. But we didn't say, wait a minute, let me read the context. Let me read the whole thing here. Oh, all these people was old. All of these people were living for hundreds of years. So 190 was not old. 100 years old and 90 years old was not old. Now, let me tell you why the lifespans shortened considerably after the flood. Because the Anunnaki put in stopgap measures. They put in specific measures to population control. I'll show it to you. This is really it's a little concerning. Well, not a little concerning. It's very concerning. So I will tell you what stopgap measures, if I can find it here in the book. I'm going to take you over to the book so that I can show you the stopgap measures that the Anunnaki put in place. Yes, all by our standard, which is a big problem when we're reading the Bible. We're making it like this stuff is happening now. This stuff is not happening now. These are stories from thousands of years ago. Stories. So when we read it, we ought to put it in its proper context and say, wait a minute, what was going on the earth when these words were written? What were people's lives like when these words were written? Let me take you into the book and see if I can find these. There were 4 specific population control measures that the Anunnaki put in place. You are inside the manuscript right now. If you do not have the book and you are a member on the Valerie Love YouTube channel, you are a member on the Christian Witches YouTube channel, you have the ebook as a gift. Go pick it up. You have it as a gift. Hold on. It's in your member portal. If you're not a member, become a member and get the ebook right now as a gift. I don't want you to not buy the paperback and the hardcover because you got the ebook as a gift. I give the ebook as a gift. All my ebooks, all my books we give. Okay, I do not see it here in this chapter. Let me search. Let me search. That's what I'm going to do. How about that? Let's do a search for population. Population. Okay, early human populations, population prominent, reproduction, scientists, anatomy, and the Elohim. Hold on, I'm going to see if I can find where they did the population control. Okay. Reproduction. Okay. I do not see it now. I'm going to tell you what they were. Yes, they took also as slaves. You can't read the Bible through our lens. Absolutely. That is so true. That is so true. Okay. Here are the population control measures the Anunnaki put in place. First, they shortened lifespans. Remember in church how they told you, well, they told us this in the Jehovah's Witness cult, that after the flood, people lived shorter? That's because after the flood and the Anunnaki had wiped out a lot of the beings that were on the planet, they in or in that area, in that region, it wasn't planet wide, it was in that region, as far as we know, and they put in measures to control the population going forward. So no longer could people live to be 900 and so forth and so forth. They cut the telomeres. This is right inside our own genetic code. No one has to guess about this. This is not conjecture. Our telomeres were shortened, and the telomeres determine your lifespan. The telomeres are like these little cords at the end of I think it's a DNA sequence. And when they unravel, you start to get old. So they genetically manufactured or went again and did another tinker that people were only going to live to be 120. So that was the first thing they did. They had to dramatically shorten lifespans because nothing else explains why were people living so long before the flood and then after the flood they stopped living so long. You never got that answer in church. It makes sense if it was a scientific operation. Then they also introduced infertility. Do you notice how the Bible always talks about people being barren? All these barren women. This one couldn't have a baby. This one couldn't have a baby. This one couldn't have a baby. It's almost as if your mother was barren, you knew that the person who was going to be born by that barren woman was going to be some amazing person. It's almost like a motif. Give you an example. Sarah, barren. She bore Isaac. Hannah, barren. She bore Samuel. Samson's mother, the Bible does not give us her name, barren. She birthed Samson. It just continues. It continues. It continues. It is telomere number 2. There you go. Telomere number 2. And we can look this up, family. They shorten the telomeres. So it's just shorten your lifespan. I'm putting it in very simple layman's terms because I'm not a scientist, I'm a spiritual galley. So I'm girly. So I am putting it into terms that are easily understood by all of us that are not uber scientific. I love science. I'm not a scientist. And I love history. I'm not a historian. I love archaeology. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm not a geologist. I am a spiritual girl who does intensive research and study. I'm an independent researcher to come to answer the existential questions that I've always had. Where are we? What are we doing here? Where do we come from? What are we doing? What is the purpose of this whole exercise? What is the way out? What is the path to freedom, liberation? That's the kind of questions I get answers to because I'm a spiritual gal. Now, the Anunnaki did first, they did the actual shortening of the telomeres so that we could live. Lifespan 900 years? No, 120. Second, they introduced infertility. Some women would be able to have children, some would not. Next, they introduced infant mortality. Yes, they did. This, I believe, is where a lot of the stories of Lilith come from, because women, even to this day, women in the Jewish world are concerned about Lilith when it comes to the baby being born, because it is said that Lilith is the one that steals the life of that newborn baby. So they introduced infant mortality, unfortunately. They introduced these measures, and they were big into starvation anyway, and pestilence and disease. They had chemical biological warfare weapons. They had that too, and they would have no problem putting gas on people. Chemtrails are not new. Biological weapons are not new. The Anunnaki had all of that way before humans thought of them. They had all of that. So all of this is starting to make sense. We're starting to get the echoes of these things in the Bible, and we're starting to understand what the Bible truly is because they are retold stories and retold stories and retold stories and retold stories from ancient Sumer of the flood and the man who went through the flood and the God, the god saved him, one of the Anunnaki, one of the rulers, one of the governors saved him and his family. And that became a bigger story and a bigger story and a bigger story. And the Bible writers knew the story. When they wrote it down, they made it Noah. And this is why they were killed. They introduced morality. This wasn't a story about morality. This was not a story about right and wrong. The biggest lie of Christianity is morals. There's no such thing as right and wrong. No such thing. You do something, you get a result. That's how it works in the universe. It's cause and effect. You do something, you get a result. We hope you learn from the result and say to yourself, I'm either going to do that again or not do that again because I either liked the result or I did not like the result. And that's how we evolve as human beings. If no one ever made a mistake, if no one ever did anything quote unquote wrong and got the repercussions of doing that wrong thing, how would you grow? How would you become a self-realized individual, which is the object of the whole exercise of this whole thing called life, is for us to evolve and become gods. How would you come into self realization? How would you ascend your consciousness? How would you transcend if you never did anything? You got to do things. Oh, you get the result. Oh, I shouldn't do that next time. Or maybe it's not best for me to do that. Okay, next time I'm going to do it this way. And then you do it that way. And then you get a result. And you're like, oh, okay, great. That worked out a little bit better. I'm going to add this and I'm going to add that. It's alchemy in your life. Experiences. Someone put this in the chat. Let me give you the whole meaning of life right now. You never have to think about what's the meaning of life. I'm going to give you the whole meaning of life right now. Experiences. Have all the experiences you can have. Experiences, the meaning of life. Why experiences? You said it absolutely right. Was this Michael? This is Michelle. You said it absolutely right, Michelle. You said it absolutely right. The whole point of life is experiences. Why? Because from experiences, you gain wisdom. You did this thing, it worked out, it didn't work out. You grew in wisdom and understanding. You did this thing, you liked it, you didn't like it. You met these people, you said this, you didn't like this. You adjust, you grow, you learn, you become wiser and wiser. Experiences lead to wisdom. Wisdom leads to compassion. Someone asked me the other day, and I was telling them about a country. I was talking about a country that I had been to. And they said, Reverend Val, yesterday on one of our business meetings, they said, Reverend Val, what country have you not been to? There's a lot I haven't been to yet. So there's actually more countries that I've never been to than countries that I've been to, even though I've been to tons of countries. This is what I discovered. Yes, experiences leads to wisdom. You got to have the experience, boo. You never went to China. I did. So people can't tell me about China because I had the experience. I went, I got on a plane. I was on China Airways. I was amidst Chinese people. They were speaking another language. I was eating the food. I was walking the streets. I was having all these experiences of China. And I was learning and I was growing and I was smiling and I was seeing things I never saw before. And I was eating foods that sometimes I didn't quite know what it was. And I was eating it anyway. And some were good and some were not good. So when I saw that thing on the buffet again, I was like, oh, that's not going to be the one I'm going to eat. See, I had more wisdom even the second day at the buffet than I had the first day at the buffet. And then walking around and I'm seeing parts of China and I'm on the river and I'm in a boat and I'm walking around and this is amazing. You see, and then I go to Hong Kong and in Hong Kong they speak English. In China, there was no Facebook, there was no Google, there was no YouTube. Then you cross over the little bridge and you go across the water because Hong Kong is like a little island right off of China. So we go to Hong Kong, everyone speaks English. Why? Because it was ruled by the British. Oh, I didn't know that. I just didn't really have much idea about Hong Kong at all. It was just kind of out there, Hong Kong. And I see the beautiful tall buildings and the mountains. And then I go and see the water and the food and everyone's speaking English and they're speaking the Queen's English and they have tea time. They have all the British things because they were ruled by the British for 80 years or something like that. And then recently, Britain just had, according to the deal, Britain had to give Hong Kong back to China. I mean, I would have never had those experiences if I was just sitting on the sofa watching Netflix like most of the schmucks do that want to tell you how to live your life. Fuck that. You can't tell me how to live my life because I'm out there having experiences. I had the experience of going to Thailand. I had the experience of going to Bangkok. When I went to Thailand, at first I went to Phuket and it was like the water and then, oh wow, this is amazing. And Thai food, oh, this is delicious. I'm having the experience of chewing this Thai food right now. I'm having this experience of how they fish. I'm having this experience in Egypt of being on a felucca on this Nile River. I'm having the experience of, do you understand that when you have the experience, you're going to gain wisdom, and then the wisdom will lead to compassion for all people. You will know, you will have compassion for Chinese people. You will have compassion for Egyptian people. You will have compassion for people who are in Hong Kong, Malaysia. The list goes on and on. Experiences, wisdom, compassion. Compassion. When you have compassion, you will not pick up something to hurt your fellow man. You have compassion, you will be the Christ, you will be the Buddha. Come on, baby. I need more people around here to become a Buddha. I need more people around here to become a Christ. If everybody on the planet was a Christ, you wouldn't need a gun. Because Jesus ain't shooting nobody. Buddha ain't shooting nobody. Buddha is not interested in shooting anyone. Kuan Yin ain't shooting nobody. Kuan Yin, the Lord of the beautiful goddess of compassion. When I was in Mexico and I went to Teotihuacan, I also went to the shrine of Our Lady of Perpetual Love, Our Lady of Compassion, Guadalupe. Does anybody know about Guadalupe? Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I gotta get you something. Okay. Hold on. Now, if you ask any Mexican person about Our Lady of Guadalupe, they'll tell you right about that. They might have some tears right then and there. Here, this is her. You might know this is her, and she's one of the Black Madonnas. Because you know what experience I want to have? The experience I want to have is visiting all the Black Madonnas in the world. So that's one of my experiences that I'm having. I want to see every Black Madonna in the world. And this is one of the Black Madonnas. She's in Mexico. Go right now to Mexico City and go right outside of Mexico City, or she's actually in the Mexico City proper. You go to the shrine of Guadalupe. The thing is so beautiful. You'll just walk around in tears. The thing is so beautiful. It's got all these chapels in there. It's huge, and it's like a whole city. They have restaurant in there, and you get ice cream in there, you go shopping in there. Like, this thing is a huge complex, and of course it has a huge Catholic church. And I like Catholic people because you can get a lot of magical stuff from Catholic people. There's Our Lady of Guadalupe, and here she is there on this side. Compassion. So if you see people on YouTube walking to our Mother of Guadalupe, our Lady of Compassion, and their tears are running down their eyes, and you're looking at them, you're like, oh, this is what cynical people do. Oh, why are those people crying like that? Why are those people doing it? Because they never had the experience. You got to feel sorry for them because they're so limited in their consciousness. Their brain is like a pea. You have to feel sorry for people like that because their mind has not been expanded by any experience beyond their own tiny little self and little life. So when I was there and I was walking around, I felt to myself like, oh my goodness, I'm not a Catholic. You don't have to be a Catholic to have the experience of Our Lady of Guadalupe or Guadalupe. You don't have to have the same experience as a person next to you. I'm in there, I'm open, I'm willing, I'm participatory, I'm walking around in honor of what other people believe in. I don't have to believe in it. I can be an atheist in there and still have an experience. What are we talking about? Are we so crazy that we can't even have an experience? You can't go into church right now and have an experience if you're an atheist? Don't be ridiculous. That's why when someone asks me, do I believe in the Bible? I don't believe in nothing. I'm trying to get rid of all my beliefs. I want to have experiences and knowing. I know what that is because I've had the experience. That's why most people can't tell me anything because I've been in too many countries. I've been in too many mosques, churches, holy houses, huts, shaman experiences, witches, rituals in the woods, all of these things because I had the experience. I was in it. And while I was in it, I wasn't in it judging it. We ain't supposed to be doing that. That's wrong. That's bad. No, I was in the experience to learn, to grow, to humble yourself. Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God that you may not be humbled. Have you ever read that? It's in this book that people love to tell everybody else to live by. I want to see the person who says it to live by. So, family, love tubers, all of you in this beautiful experience that I love so much for doing this hard work. It's hard work. Most people don't want to do it. They're like, I don't want to examine my beliefs. I have my beliefs. I'm just going to keep them. But they don't add up. They don't make sense. I don't care. It's easier for me that way. I just want to watch Netflix and eat popcorn. Okay. I watch Netflix. That's not what my life is about. I have Netflix. That's not what my life is about. My life is about becoming God. Now, that's what I determined is that my life is about. You get to determine. I would never tell you that that's what life is about for everyone. I'm telling you, you get to determine what your life will be about. Once you have the experience, you cannot be an armchair life liver. Living life from the armchair, just sitting there watching videos. Oh, look, come here, honey. Look at all these people that moved to Thailand. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look on YouTube, some people moved to Belize. Oh, wow. That's amazing. People have become spectators in their own life. I don't want to preach to you all day. I just want to love to tell you how much you're loved and how safe you are to go out there and live your life, live a big life, live a dream life, have all these experiences, learn, grow, become a fully self-realized being that you can shine as a beacon for the whole world because we need you to be a beacon for the whole world. I love you. I will see you tomorrow. Mwah. Peace. Yes.